Hello everyone, I think welcome again to another episode of Speaking to the Best Content Marketing Leaders across the world. I'm Kishan, again streaming in from New York, and very excited to have Ani Sapru, who is the head of product marketing, content and website at GEM. Ani comes from a very interesting background of having worked in strategic consulting and then into the SaaS side of the world, especially the HRTA tech side of the world. Ani, it's a pleasure to have you on board in the studio today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, likewise. Excited to be here.
No, superb. I think, Ani, before knowing you better, I think even before we start introducing yourself, love to get a sense around what GEM does as a whole for the audiences. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, GEM is the AI-powered recruiting platform TA teams love. The reason is that we offer an all-in-one solution for recruiting teams, but we also allow them to enhance their existing ATS with products for sourcing, CRM, analytics, scheduling, and a lot more. And TA Teams Love is a core part of our identity because we have super high adoption rates. And the reason for that is because we genuinely believe in building products that people love.
That is super good. Thank you so much, Ani, for letting us know about GEM. But I think we'll just move to also knowing you better and understanding from you how's life been till now, where you grew up. You were telling us before the recording that you grew up and you're originally you hail from the Bay Area.
That's right.
East Bay, right? And then you moved to New York. So California boy that way around, right? So love to get a sense about knowing you better, Ani, as a person. Where do you grow up? How do you go to college? What do you learn? And then how kind of you moved into the product marketing side of things after strategic consulting. So I think that would be lovely.
For sure. Yeah. So my name is Ani. I grew up in the Bay Area, in the East Bay, right off of Berkeley. Stayed there most of my life. And then, when I went to college, I actually went to UC Berkeley, so that wasn't too far away. And then this is kind of where my career story is kind of interesting because in college, I majored in bioengineering.
Oh.
So that was, but I ended up not obviously being in bioengineering as a profession.
We had the first bioengineering person in our show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. First for everything. But yeah, so after I graduated Cal, I worked at ZS Associates, their management consulting firm, and they specialize in the pharma space and biotech space. So there's a little bit of like similarity there and kind of an overlap that allowed me to kind of still use some of the skills that I learned and kind of the industry knowledge. And during my time there, did a lot of work on, just consulting the marketing teams for my clients, all the way from like brand strategy, customer messaging, to launch planning. And so, as you can probably tell, a lot of that actually is similar to what product marketers do.
Yeah.
And so, after I transitioned from ZS, I moved over to Smart Recruiters as a product marketing manager, where I was doing a lot of that work, right? Message testing, customer segmentation, launch planning. And so, yeah, it was kind of like while originally, if you look at it on paper, my resume is like, how did this person jump here to there? The actual experiences I had ended up having a lot of overlap with my next step. And so that's kind of how I landed. And so from after Smart Recruiters, I joined GEM as product marketing again. And so now here I am 3 years later at GEM.
That's super good, Ani. I think would love to also understand you were on the other side of the table at a company like a ZS, who's trying to kind of give all the knowledge and the expertise that you had to companies like GEM and Smart Recruiters. Usually there's a nuance in the industry which says that strategic consultants are people who can give a great set of knowledge, but probably not the people who are actually making their hands dirty on the ground, right? And then now that in your role, you're already making a lot of your hands dirty, doing all your content and website and product marketing, launching products. I want to understand very interestingly, how's the shift and transition for you being like? Mm-hmm. And also, what are the core nitty-gritties of the difference in the roles that you've seen at either ends, basically?
Right.
So that would be amazing for one to understand, because the role that you got into at ZS, right? Mm-hmm. That's a role that a lot of people aspire to go to.
Right.
I mean, it's like, hey, I want to start my career at strategic consulting, ZS, then McKinsey, then a Bain, VCG. I mean, that's how people love to kind of start the journey. So love to get a sense.
Yeah. For me, it was actually exciting to go from being the kind of like on the consulting side to then also being like in-house. Obviously, like where we're at GEM, like I'll do a little bit of like that in-house consulting where I do the analysis and the research with some partners, with some other teammates. And then the reason I really enjoy it is because to the point you made earlier, like, okay, so we do the analysis, we build this recommendation, and then we go into it and actually like execute it, right? And for me, that's kind of fun. Like, okay, like how do we make our content? Like, how do we make our content speak to those values that we were talking about? How do we make it more engaging? How do we make it more fun? When it comes to product marketing side, like, okay, now that we've built out this launch planning process, like, how do we actually make it work, right? So for me, it's actually been a fun challenge. Like, obviously, it was a shift, but you know, in my mind, I kind of dove right in because I was excited about doing it. Whereas I think one of the benefits of consulting, which is really fun, especially early in your career, is you work on that strategic advisory and analysis, and then you work on a lot of other projects. And so, to your point, like perhaps you do a lot of work and then it's kind of a handoff to your client. But you get a lot more versatility in terms of like the different types of projects and problems you're solving. And so that's also been really beneficial because it allowed me to identify, well, which problems do I like solving or which projects do I like to be a part of? And so like from my time in consulting, I learned that I really like the marketing strategy aspect, the launch planning, the message testing. Like to me, those just spoke to things that I really valued. And so, yeah, it's the best of both worlds for me, fortunately. But yeah, the transition was a rather seamless and fun one.
No, very interesting. And you've also gone to a company like Gem, which has been growing really fast, right? I mean, 7 years into the business, almost what you said, 120 to 150 people broadly. You almost raised a Series C, so congratulations on that. And $100 million is a good amount of money.
Right. We raised a Series C back in 2021. Yes.
In 2021,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So it's almost you've raised a good amount of money that way around, right? I want to understand from you, how has been the nature of also working in a much more fast-paced environment at a Gem than working at a companies which are like a bit slower comparatively that way around? I'm not saying that being slow is not great,
Right.
but being fast is sometimes you ought to learn about kind of like the pursuit of chaos in some sense, basically, right? So how has it been that for you, like from a transition shift lens? And I'd also go into the nitty-gritties of your role, like what do you exactly take care of, and what are the chaos in the roles?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, I think I've always found myself working in a faster paced environment. So even in consulting, while there are specific projects we're working on, like, you know, we move fast to deliver for our clients, and then then there might be another project that's coming up. Whereas now that you're in tech, you know, I think the nature of the game in tech is speed. For so many tech companies, especially as you're kind of building out your platform. And so I find it really exciting because I think it just keeps you on your toes. I think, you know, for some people, they might prefer to like do the slow, steady, same thing over and over again. To me, I could see myself getting really bored really quickly. So the fact that there's always a new challenge, like at times, of course, it can feel overwhelming, but net, I think it's just exciting because it's like, all right, how do you quickly adapt? How do you quickly stay nimble? And I feel like, you know, I'm just speaking from personal experience, but I feel like, I don't know, the past 4, 6, 8 years, like something dramatic happens every 6 months and you got to learn to pivot and change. So like, I think that's just kind of the world we live in. And I think tech, you know, Gem in particular and tech overall has kind of been well adapted to that environment. So it's kind of fun to be part of those like creative challenges that come up.
Very interesting. And would love to go deeper into your role at Gem, right? I mean, at Gem, probably when you define product marketing and content and website all together in one place, right? One, what are the advantages of doing all of that with one person? I think that is an interesting question I have. And the second part I want to ask you there is, how have you been able to kind of streamline that, I would say the people and the process for this product marketing team, particularly, one, to drive efficiency in what you're trying to do. And second, also because I've seen in product marketing, a lot of people get bored with the product after a point in time and they want to kind of jump through, like you said, rightly. I mean, there needs to be that zeal being created in the teams, right? So I think would love to go into nitty-gritty.
Totally. Well, I think first, a caveat, I am not a team of one. I fortunately have a great team helping me and supporting me, and then also just like cross-functional partners as well. So that definitely makes it easier. I don't think, I don't know, maybe at a very small company you could run all three functions as one person. But yeah, it's one, just having a good team, having good people to work with, that really makes it a lot easier. In terms of your question about, you know, what are the efficiencies that come out when you have product marketing, content, website, you know, in an ideal world, regardless of what the org structure looks like, all three of those things should be echoing the same message, maybe in different formats. And so for me, being able to have like that overarching visibility on what is going on our website, what is it that we're saying with our content, what is our product marketing narrative, that naturally just makes it a lot easier. Just make sure all three channels are aligned, right? And at our team at Gem, like we're very big on integrated campaigns, just which means that like everything that the marketing team is doing, it's marching to the beat of the same drum. So like if we're talking about certain themes, we're all kind of focused on that. So our content, our campaigns, our launches, that makes it again just a little bit easier when like the whole team is bought into focusing on a few key areas, and it just makes the work a lot easier and straightforward, right? If like campaigns isn't doing their own thing and product marketing isn't doing their own thing, like it just creates a disconnected process. So when we have all of us kind of talk on the same themes, it allows us to knowledge share much easier, and then also just like repurpose existing work or content. Overall, just kind of like naturally makes the whole process simpler.
And interestingly, just also wanting to get a sense around how do you kind of okay, so you guys launch products, right? And you do it pretty often. You do it at a fast pace, if I'm not wrong, right? Can you explain us what's a flywheel for you when it comes to actually launching a new feature or a product particularly?
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to a flywheel, in that sense, you said about integrated marketing efforts, particularly two parts were there.
Yeah.
Part A, how do you plan the flywheel for it? Part B, how do you plan the sustenance part of it?
Right.
Because I think a lot of companies, like we're discussing before the shoot as well, repurposing of content is a big part. People are not able to do that well. The sustenance takes a hit on that.
Right.
You launch a feature, adoption is a problem. Once you've launched it, unless you're running campaigns and paid marketing on it, people don't understand it too well after a point in time. How do you kind of plan that entire piece out? That would be lovely to know.
Yeah. So I'll start with part A. Launch planning is probably the most important part of a successful product launch.
Yeah.
And so, there's a whole process in terms of determining what products we want to launch and how we invest in it. Can go into that in a little more detail, but let's assume that we know we've identified the product we want to launch. It's really getting in there early and having like an honest conversation about what is our goal with this launch, what is our kind of like long-term vision in terms of what this product will be. And then from there, taking it to the next step of like, well, who's our ideal customer? What benefit are they going to accrue? And that helps us then kind of build out a broader launch plan. And, there's so many templates out there of like all the different things you need to do, but just at a high level, like again, really refining that messaging, understanding what's the ideal pricing strategy, understanding those target accounts. And then from there, I think the next step that we do in parallel as we're planning our launch is just making sure that we get this in the hands of some early access customers. That's going to be one of the biggest signals for us in terms of understanding, okay, what's resonating about the product, what resonates about the messaging, how does the pricing align with the customer. All of those inputs really, really then further sharpen and refine our overall like launch process and like strategy then, because the feedback we get from there will help us understand, okay, like here's how we need to message it. Here are the ideal accounts we should be going after. And then that also helps us, with content, because these early access customers, they've used the product.
Right.
So they already have a lot of great ideas in terms of what they want to share. So how do we get them to share their experience, whether they're talking about our product or just talking about their strategy overall? It's really valuable to the rest of the market. And so that's kind of like the part A of just like the launch planning starts with like really starting early of understanding the vision, the strategy, the goals. And that helps make the rest of the process easier. And then part B of like, okay, so then how do we like get this out there? Again, that ties back into like our marketing team running integrated campaigns. So we get together, like every week at least, but like at least once a quarter, we have this strategy planning session of understanding, okay, what are the core themes we should be going after next quarter? And we ask ourselves, well, what are the products we're launching? What are the key pieces of content that we think we should be producing? What are the campaigns that have been working? And we put that all together to understand, okay, well, the next quarter, if we're launching this big product, this is the key theme we should be tackling. These are the programs that could be supporting it. This is the content that could be supporting it. And then from there, to your point, like we could also understand, okay, well, we've already been doing this launch planning process, this early access. What could we be taking from there and using it to produce in our marketing? Because at the end of the day, TA leaders or any SaaS buyer, they're just looking for other people who've done something before as inspiration. And so really just taking real practical experience and sharing that out is valuable.
No, super interesting. I think one more very interesting part I want to ask you is about see, there's this part of building a content conviction in the company actually. Because what happens is, see, product marketing is something every SaaS company wants in. I don't think that's even a doubt in that case, right? But you having content strategy, these terms you're using, that definitely defines about a company like Gem having a lot of conviction on the entire power on the return of content, basically in general, right? I want to understand, when you joined in, was that conviction already there? Were you able to build it over a period of time? And if not,
Right.
how does someone build that conviction with their management or their leadership on saying, hey, see, content is a slow burn. It's gonna take time, but it's gonna then give us returns compoundedly, right? I mean, that's it. How does someone do that? Because there's a question to a lot of marketers that they ask generally, hey, I want to do a lot of content marketing, but my boss, he doesn't understand content.
Right.
Or maybe my management doesn't understand content. How does someone tackle that?
Yeah, great question. So when I joined Gem, fortunately, there was a lot of conviction in content. When we started out in our product, we had a unique point of view in the market in terms of like where we felt our key message was that if you want to recruit the best talent, you have to go after and get them. And that's kind of like how Gem started us as a sourcing solution. And that really fueled our messaging, our narrative, and our content. And we have a lot of great content on that. So as we've expanded our platform, that message is still true, but we also have more to say on the topics that are related to talent acquisition. So going back to it, like content as a conviction, it was there at Gem already. And as our platform evolves, as our product evolves, as our company evolves, our messaging and content also need to evolve. And so it's just taking them along that journey and sharing like what's changed and how it's going to be beneficial. And so that's kind of a nice segue into like the second part, like how do you buy everyone else into the investment in content? The easiest answer is data. Like if you're just looking for, there's kind of like a short-term and a long-term view. On the short-term view, like I think it's incumbent upon the marketing leaders and the content leaders to understand, well, how is their content performing? And I don't just mean like downloads or page views, but like also like, hey, out of all the active deals in our pipeline, how many of them are interacting with our content? Because that's a good signal of like them finding usefulness, right? And typically I know, we do this at Gem, but a lot of great teams will also build out their content strategy based on the stages of the funnel and make sure that, okay, for buyers that are at this stage of the journey, what content do they need to see from us to help them move in that next direction, right? And then from a long-term view, it's continuing to showcase like, well, how's the brand evolved? How much are we getting featured in spotlights from industry analysts? Are we, getting more and more positive feedback from the market and from the community? There's a lot of quantitative and kind of more intangible metrics that you can look at to really validate that long-term strategy. But even to get quick buy-in, I think there's a lot of great data that if you produce good quality content that people want, you will see it impact your conversions and your pipeline pretty quickly.
Interesting. I also want to touch more about the beast in the room, that's AI particularly, right? I mean, I put it this way. You're from the West Coast, right?
Right.
I just moved to New York like a couple of months ago. You know what? I've realized this one way. In the Bay Area, when I was there, every cafe I used to go, every coffee shop I used to go, there was one table odd in that room where there's a conversation about, hey, did you see that new Gen AI update that has come in? Did you check out the new ChatGPT voice feature that has come in? I come to New York, the conversation have changed. No one's speaking about it too much, right? And I think it's also about the place. But I want to understand from you, you've been a part of a lot of these AI product launches at Gem.
Yeah.
But my question to you is more about how are you using generative AI or foresee using generative AI into your content strategies or product marketing strategies particularly?
Oh, okay. Sure.
So that would be an interesting part. If you have been able to fulfill something already via AI, making it most optimist, that would be great. But love to get a sense of that.
Yeah, well, I will say, like, San Francisco is very tech centric, so I think it's not a surprise that you might hear more AI related conversations there. But
the only problem is people only know one answer about it. That's it. They don't have the depth about it. I just
well, you know what? Credit to New York. I think they've got so many more diverse industries out here, just because they've been around longer. But there's a great tech community here in New York too, and I think it's just.
I was just kidding when I mentioned New York and San Francisco.
But to answer your question about like how I've been using AI, so I mean the easiest use case that people talk about AI is just like writing, right? It's great at writing like an good draft. Depending on the prompt, you can make it write a really good draft. I'll be honest, like at Gem, we're not going towards the like, hey, let's just have AI write all our blogs and just call it a day. Like it just doesn't work. People can just snuff that out. Like I know there's AI graders, but like I can tell you like most people can just see what's AI generated and isn't.
Absolutely.
And I think, me and my boss, the head of marketing at Gem, we talk about this all the time. Like good content is hard because it actually requires work. And so AI can of course help. Maybe can help you with like an initial draft or maybe create that outline. But if you're asking it to like write the finished product, it's not going to be successful. You need someone who understands the industry, who understands your tone. So I see AI as an assistant in that sense. Some other fun use cases that I've seen with AI that are actually helpful is with data analysis. It's really good at just like looking through a lot of data and then like pulling out key insights, key trends. I've really enjoyed that. And so that really helps me.
What are you using ChatGPT for this?
Yeah, I'll use ChatGPT. I'll use Claude. If I can give a plug to Gong, I think their AI product is incredible. Like when I'm listening to calls, like their highlights and AI summaries, and I can ask it questions of like, hey, how did the buyer react to this pitch or anything like that? It gives me a really good answer. So to whoever's at Gong building the AI product, like kudos to you all. Like it's really effective and it's helped me a lot. But yeah, like I said, I think AI has been really good at just the writing, the summarizing, and some good data analysis to get you started. And I would say like, it's kind of the future, or the future's already here. Like you probably should be using it in some capacity, but I would not make it your crutch.
Interesting. And I'm also wanting to get a sense around how have you trained your teams using AI? I mean, in using AI, basically, I just feel like a lot of times the leader has a lot of conviction, majorly the CEO of the company saying, hey, we want to do something using AI. But then the bigger question is, what do we do using AI particularly, right? So I'm just wanting to get a sense around how your team's been adapting about using AI in their day-to-day workflows.
Oh, like in the product marketing content flow. Yeah. I mean, great. In that example, like product marketing, content writing, or content marketing, it's a lot of writing. It's a lot of analysis and summarizing things. And so again, like I think AI is really good if you like give it a lot of good raw data, text-based data. It can make sense of it for you and get you a starting point onto like, where do I want to dig deeper? There's also certain things that, are a little bit more standardized or templatized that we need to communicate, whether it's new feature releases or some certain messages. And if you use your AI and you prompt it a couple of times, our team, we've done that in particular, like where we have prompted our model to be pretty good. Like once we give it a few inputs or some context, it can like spit out something that's pretty close to final. And then we can take it from there and, finalize it. So like I said, it can be used across a lot of different flows that our team uses, whether it's email writing, note-taking, summaries, and all that. But yeah, one of the fun things is like, we have a weekly marketing team get together. And anytime someone has like a fun new AI use case that they've discovered, they typically share it with the team.
Very nice.
But yeah, I can say personally, it's helped me a lot and just like saving me time from like some of the grunt work that you have to do.
Yeah, makes sense. No, this is fantastic. Actually, I think I've got a fair understanding from everything that you mentioned. We just head to the last round of this conversation, right? The last round is something, you said you're an avid bike lover. Yes. So we got to know, say, Ani as a person, Ani as a professional, Ani as an AI champion, and maybe now Ani as a bike lover. So we're going to shoot you like a set of rapid fire questions, particularly. These rapid fire questions are majorly about anything and everything, work and non-work together.
All right.
You get 6 seconds to answer whatever's on top of your mind. All right. Just shoot them out, right? All right. I think let's start with that. Let's go. Any comfort food?
Comfort food? Oh, there's so many. For me, this is gonna sound silly. 7-Eleven chicken taquitos. That's my comfort food.
Okay. Humble brag.
Humble brag. What's a good humble brag? I don't really think struggling with that one.
Are you struggling with which one is humble or which one is a
Maybe a little
brag?
bit of both. A humble brag. I don't know. I recently biked 50 miles. That's kind of fun.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
So
not
that's-
championship level, but like
That's good.
took out a lot out of me.
Oh, nice. What bikes do you own?
Right now, I just own a road bike.
You have a road bike?
Yeah.
Which one?
It's a Cannondale Super 6, I think. What it's called? Yeah.
What power?
Oh, it's just like it's like a manual bike.
It's a manual
Yeah,
bike.
yeah. Sorry, it's a road bike.
A road bike.
Yeah.
Perfect. Favorite road trip route?
Favorite road trip route? Well, for a short one, I think the 280 highway in California
Uh-huh.
is beautiful. It's one of my favorites. It's when I go to my uncle's place, I'm driving on that. It's serene. I'd say that's a nice short
Yeah.
road trip one, and then longer trip as a Californian. I think the 101 down the coast.
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
epic.
I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people say that.
Yeah, that's like pretty epic.
Yeah. 3 tabs that are always on your laptop.
3 tabs,
Except for the Google Suite, please.
except for the Google Suite. Oh man, you got me there. I was gonna say like email, calendar.
No, not those.
3 tabs
Or they're on for most of the time.
that are on most of the time. Yeah, I would say our marketing dashboard, number 1. And then
What do you use? Marketing dashboard?
just to track our progress towards goals every quarter.
Okay.
So I look at that thing every morning. My Asana to-dos. I don't know if that's a tab or not, but that's up there.
Yeah.
And obviously Slack. But let's see if I can come up with a more fun third one. I think the other one would probably be my Spotify. I can like whenever I need to play music and just
Favorite
zone
genre
in.
of music? I have a next question for you. Ready?
Favorite genre of music? I like the full gambit, honestly. Like
You like the
I'm a huge fan of it all. But you know, right now I'm kind of in the indie rock alternative music scene right now, or at least that's what I'm jamming out to. So
Last song that you heard in the indie rock scene?
the last song that I heard, this just randomly showed up in my shower playlist today, but "Fortunate Son" by Creedence Clearwater.
Okay.
That was the last
That's
one.
nice. That's nice. If you were not a product marketer, what would you be? And a consultant, of course.
Or a
Okay.
consultant. You know, I would have loved to have been a spin instructor. I almost
Been a?
spin instructor.
What is a spin instructor?
So they're the ones like when you go to like a cycling class,
Oh,
right?
okay.
I still go quite a bit, but I used to go a lot a few years ago, and part of me was always like, man, these spin instructors look like they're having a lot of fun. Like, I kind of want to do that. Like, just get paid to work out, be healthy, get a free gym membership, just always be upbeat, playing good music. Yeah, that would
I get what a spin instructor is now.
yeah,
so-
that would have been kind of fun.
Very cool. Very cool. No, that's super good. Thank you so much, Annie, for making this work.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a fun conversation. I hope you enjoyed it.
This was a lot of fun.
All fun. Perfect. Thank you so much. It was good chatting with you.
You too.